Welcome to episode 129 of Broad Street Hustle, the much anticipated NBA season preview show. We're going to cover, and we always do a draft. Then we'll do some Sixers, we'll do some other teams around the league, pick some divisions, conferences, awards. Then we'll do our Eagles recap, Eagles preview, and ultimately our picks. Let's go around the table. I got Jason Sayeta.
Hey, Tom, what's up?
Jason, how are you? Got Jimmy Chalk.
Going on?
Got Christopher Michael Meeker.
And what's happening?
And for the NBA this year, we have a special guest returning to Broad Street Hustle. He's here for the Sixers Knicks preview series show. It's the famous Omar Bowers. Omar, anything you like to say?
Glad to be back. No, glad to be back.
What plays?
Where'd you buy that shirt at?
Listen, I bought this in Philly, just so you know, at Ross. And if you get shirts like this at Ross, Philly's in trouble.
So what was
I bought, you know what else I
Ross?
bought at Ross? 2022 Philadelphia Eagles Super Bowl champion shirts, I think.
Exactly.
All right. Well, before we kick off, a word from our sponsor. It's Giovannina's Pizza. You tried the rest. Now try the best. Still with the NFL coupon. Put Broad Street Hustle on that coupon code online and get a free pizza. And this Saturday, visit Giovannina's Pizza, and two of 2001 Philadelphia Sixer greats, Pepe Sanchez and Rodney Buford, will be signing autographs. So definitely want to check that out at Giovannina's Pizza. All right, let's kick this off. So as we always do is our draft, and Omar will be participating in the draft. Jason, so far we've done all the sports. Who do you know? Do you remember who's what the winners have been so far?
I've won twice. Jimmy the Chalk has won once. Now we're on our fourth iteration, which is this baseball playoffs. Tommy and I are eliminated. So Chalky has the Dodgers and the Guardians left, and Meeker has the Yankees. Nobody has the Mets. So if the Mets win, it's null and void.
Yeah, right.
No.
And then you won basketball last year with Boston, I believe, right?
That is correct.
All right. So off the air, we did do the draft. Chalky, what was the order?
I believe Jason recorded that.
I have the order. So Tommy is first. Yep. Omar is second. Chalky is third. Meeker is fourth, and I am fifth.
Okay. Well, let's kick it off. So I did not want the first pick because I honestly don't know. I had a couple sleeper teams, but I got to just go. I mean, play it safe. Take the chalk with Boston. I mean, it's first pick. What else are you going to do here? So I believe Omar.
No, that's great because my first pick would have been OKC, so I'm taking OKC.
Yeah.
Oh, come on now. I thought OKC was a slam dunk because you were going to take the Knicks. You can't do that.
Nah.
Yeah. I wanted OKC, but okay.
I mean, they're second in odds. It's not, you guys aren't.
No, I know, but
breaking the world here.
I didn't think it would drop to 3 unless Omar was ahead of me, and it did. Anyway, hey, let's go with the Sixers.
Oh, I hate to do this. I'm going to take the team on your shirt there, Omar, as my fourth pick here. I will take the New York Knicks.
That's not good news for you, Omar. That's not good news for you.
Hopefully not. Good.
All right. I have back-to-back picks here. I'm going to take the Nuggets. And then I'm going to go with the Dallas Mavericks.
I will take Phoenix.
I guess I'll take Milwaukee.
Yeah. You know what? I actually like the Grizzlies.
The
The other
Grizzlies.
team I was thinking of.
Yep.
So so we're only doing 2 rounds, and my last pick will be my story that Hollywood writes. It's going to be a James that leads the Lakers to a championship, but it will not be LeBron. It'll be Bronny. All right. So that's the, we're only doing 2 rounds. I mean, you could squeeze out.
Well, I mean, you could really, like, I have a bunch of other teams, but it's fine. You don't have to do it anymore.
I mean, the 4th round would be a complete waste of time, though. No problem.
I mean, I had the Grizzlies going in the 4th round, so.
You ready to talk about it, or what?
Well, first we're gonna do. Let's first do the Sixers. So, I mean, it's a Philadelphia show. So, Jason, what's your Sixers outlook? Not counting Game 1, since probably nobody will be playing it.
Yeah, I mean, so, I think they got deeper this year. I think rebounding may be an issue, but, I like the fit of Paul George. I don't like his contract, but I do like the fit of George on the team. He had a little injury scare the other night. It doesn't seem to be serious. Looks like it's a bone bruise. I think he might miss the first week of the season, but, in the long run, that might not be terrible because he's 34 and you kind of, you want him to be fresher for the playoffs. So not too concerned there. I like him. Like I said, I like some of their additions. I like Caleb Martin. I think that's a really underrated addition. I don't know. My problem with their starting lineup is, like I said, rebounding, because Caleb Martin as your 4 is an issue, on the board. So that could be an issue. But their bench, they strengthen their bench. I like Gordon as a shooter off the bench. Reggie Jackson is a nice addition, as the Yankees just tied the game. Reggie Jackson is a nice addition as a backup point guard. This Yabusele guy may or may not help as a backup 4. I mean, he may give you rebounding if you need it. Obviously, Drummond as a backup center is a good rebounder. So, I mean, I think they're deep. I like their coach, as you guys know. It all is going to count, about Embiid's health. This is going to be the biggest issue. If Embiid can stay healthy, they can make a run.
Yeah. Chalky, what do you think there?
Jason's last point is obviously the most important. Is if Embiid if Embiid doesn't stay healthy, this team has no chance. Most teams wouldn't. For me, this is, if we want to look at the recent era, starting with 17-18 when they first got back to the playoffs, this is the best overall roster they've had to start a season since that era began. You can argue the year they traded for Butler and Harris midseason, that was a better team by the end of the year, but I think this is their best starting team. George, I think, will be a good fit as long as he's okay being the number 3 guy on most nights in terms of scoring. But if he's okay with that, he's a guy that has a history of being able to hit big shots late in games, especially in the playoffs at times. So maybe he's your number 2 option for a late game shot after Maxey, and you don't have to worry about trying to get Embiid the ball on some kind of awkward shot near the buzzer. I actually like I think the Yabusele signing is going to be a sneaky good deal. He's been playing in Europe, and teams have been trying to get him to come back, but he's sat it out, waited for what he thought was the right chance. So he might, if he works his way into the rotation, I think he might be a little bit of a surprise. They're going to have X amount of losses overall because they've already said Embiid and George probably aren't playing back-to-backs, and there's 14 of them I counted this year. Now, a couple of them they probably will play. There's like 2 or 3 where it's 2 good teams back-to-back, and they'll probably have to play both of them. So, spoiler, they're not going to win the division or have the number 1 seed because they're not going to be shooting for that. They're going to be shooting for healthy in the playoffs. And I think other teams have concerns. So it's not, I picked them with the 3rd pick. I think they have this is their best shot at the start of the season to win in a very long time.
Yeah. So one thing I think is important is at least this off season and coming into this season, there was no drama. We've been dealing with drama for the last 2-3 years, whether it was Harden or Ben Simmons or Embiid's health and so on and so on. So we come into the season without any of that. I think the offseason was as good as we could have hoped for who was available. So I'd call it a successful offseason. I worry a little bit about the age of this team. I think they've become kind of old overnight between George and Drummond and Gordon and Jackson. Of course, Embiid's getting up there. So they're an older team. So we wonder if durability might be a problem coming down the stretch. I don't quite see, and Jason kind of said this a little bit, I don't quite see Oubre and Martin as starters on the court I'd rather one of those guys be coming off the bench and them having a better player in probably the power forward position. Maybe at some point in the season, they'll make a trade for that, but we'll see how that goes. Drummond's definitely going to help, with the rebounding when he's in the game, but I don't know that he'll be playing at the same time Embiid will be playing on the court. So when they need to lock it down, we'll see if Nurse decides to try and play both of them at the same time. I don't know if that'll work out. Definitely interested in Yabusele to see if he can add some rebounding. He's a pretty big boy. And like Chalky was saying, like his game has improved. Now he's, they were saying the other day that he's become not a very good, but a pretty decent 3-point shooter. So maybe he gives them some 3 and D. I definitely want to see how Nurse mixes and matches the backcourt, and gives minutes to Lowry and Gordon, McCain possibly if he's going to see some time in Jackson. But, overall, I like the roster construction. I believe Nurse will do a good job with it and make the right moves. But when I look at how they match up against the Knicks, I think they're fairly comparable. But against the Celtics, who I actually hate the way they play basketball, but if Porzingis is back healthy in December, I think they're definitely a step below the Celtics because of how elite their athleticism is. So I think they'll be a 4 seed. I know we're going to talk about where we, plot them. And the only reason I'm not giving them a 3 is because I think it's difficult for 3 teams in the same division to finish 1, 2, 3. And I also think they're going to give rest to Embiid a lot. So they're not going to win as many games as we might expect because of that reason. But I think it's going to be a good season. They're going to be competitive. And like Jason said, it really comes down to Embiid's health and is he going to be ready for the playoffs? So if they're going to rest him a lot in the regular season to be ready, then I think that's probably the best move you can make.
Okay, how about our special guest, Omar? Thoughts?
So I actually liked all the moves that the Sixers made. I think it's it was a good off season. I like guys like Caleb Martin and Paul George was a nice signing as well. But quite frankly, I highly doubt that would they win 47 games last year. I think Vegas has something like 50 something as the over under. You guys have said it. I don't like them to go over 50 games this year, simply because of everyone else and the changes that they've made. I can't see anything different than last year. It's exciting, all the splashes, Paul George, all that stuff. But I think this is the same Sixers team from last year. We're just going to see it again with just a few different names, and it'll be the same end result. So excited for the regular season. There'll be some highlights and they'll make some runs. But at the end of the day, this is an early exit from the playoffs.
So let me ask you a question. Like, why do you think it's the same? Like, what's the same about it? They added Paul George.
They added Paul George. Yeah. So everyone is a year older, right? Everyone's a year older. Nick Nurse he's a great coach, sure. Right. You need a lot of luck in the NBA. Luck basically means health. You've already seen it with Paul George and Reddy getting banged up. It's just natural, right? I mean, history just tends to repeat itself across the board. Can they luck out and, get injured or be healthy at the right time during the playoffs? Maybe. But is that something you're willing to bet on? I'm not.
Well, I mean, don't you think Caleb Martin is a good, playoffs?
I love Caleb Martin. I do. I love Caleb Martin. I love Caleb Martin. But when you put Caleb Martin and that team, again, this is all centered around Embiid against a Knicks team or a Boston team.
Well, they're a much improved team than they were last year. You can't say that this is the same team. I mean, you're trading out Tobias Harris for Paul George. That's a big upgrade.
Yeah,
They got a bench now that they didn't have
let me
last year.
clarify.
They have some guys that can actually come off the bench and play. I think
Correct.
defensively, they're better than they were last year too.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't see. I understand that they're in a tough division in a conference that the Celtics and the Knicks are in, but they're not the same team.
And
Go ahead, Tom.
and they
I
have,
agree with you. I think
no, I was just
Go ahead.
saying, they have a center that can actually back up and beat it, so you're not forced to play Embiid to start a fourth quarter, or he's, like
They
the
have
minute.
backups.
Not forget about the games, but in game you can spell Embiid in better opportunities with the center to have them ready for the last 4 minutes, etc.
Mhm.
So one thing I'll jump in on, because Omar mentioned everybody's a year older as a negative. Now with the youth, could be a positive. Maxey has gotten noticeably better each year he's been in the league. Now there's a ceiling to that. You can't just get that much better every year. But now he breaks through last year. Maybe he's as good as he's going to be, which according to ESPN is 19th best player in the league or whatever in the rankings they just put out, which is fine. But there's a chance that maybe he gets that much better, and that brings the team up a little bit. I'm not saying I would bet on it, but even if he plays a little bit better than last year, I think this is a much better outlook than before.
And the one thing I want to throw in is they also have a trade chip at the deadline in KJ Martin, because his contract, while it looks bad on the surface of it, you'll be able to move that.
Yeah, and if
And
you want to
get,
add in their first
he's
round draft pick,
expiring.
who's
So
probably not going to
now
get
a
a lot of
bad
time,
team
that would be a pretty good
at the
chip too.
deadline
To add
might give
into
you
it.
something for him.
McCain talking about, of course. So about your Knicks, buddy, you want to talk about them for a little bit? I did. I was forced into it.
Sure. I mean, you picked them, right? You picked them with your first pick to actually win the East. No, I mean, the same thing exists for all NBA teams. I mean, and that's everything that I said about the Sixers in terms of health. Knicks have the same risk, right? You lose Anunoby and his health concerns, that could be huge. But if these guys can stay healthy, sky's the limit, right? It
But
really
you don't
is.
think you don't think the way that Tibbs coaches contributes to the health of the Knicks? I mean, the demand that he has
Runs them into the ground. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
I mean,
8-man
at the end of the year,
rotation.
they had every player was burned up.
Yeah. I mean, this is all about Tibbs, right? The talent is there. This is all about Tibbs and what he does with the team and how he coaches. And, he has a chance to be, I think the odds, they have him for coach of the year, potentially second, if he can figure this thing out. You talked about this being the best Sixers team in a long time. I mean, this is the best Knicks team since the Patrick Ewing era, right? So the talent is there. Mitchell Robinson will come back in January and he'll be able to mix him in. What do you do until January? I mean, I'll tell you, the way that they're going to play differently might allow for, and, not to get too ahead of ourselves, because, my dark horse, I know it, I got the Brunson shirt on, but quite frankly, Cat this year, the way I think talking about playing ball, he can be 25-12. And I mean, you're talking dark horse for MVP.
My problem with Knicks and what the moves that they made are, the reason that they were so tough last year was their grit, right? They were a hard-nosed team. They were gritty. They traded their two grittiest players. Well, they lost Hartenstein. They didn't trade him, but they traded DiVincenzo, and they brought in the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Is the guy that you just mentioned, right? He's soft. He's soft. You have to admit, he might put up numbers and all. He's soft. They are going to play a different style of basketball.
It is a different style. This is about beating Boston. That's it. This is about beating Boston. This is about Porzingis coming back potentially, right?
Right.
And I mean, that's the big thing.
Yeah, that could be an issue for Boston. Porzingis is healthy.
This is all that's in, this team is comprised to beat Boston, right? How they match up against a team like the Sixers, not great when Embiid is healthy, but that's Embiid.
So speaking of that, so I have stats on Embiid versus Towns when they've played each other. Okay, so Embiid has 8 wins and Towns has 3. Embiid averages 29 points a game. Towns averages 21. Same rebounds, 10 a game, and then assists are similar. But Embiid, if they're gonna stick Towns on Embiid, he's gonna foul him out really quickly. He's gonna put fouls on him really quickly. He can't stop Embiid. That's not a guy that's gonna stop Embiid. Your boy Frankenstein, who they traded, is a better fit against Embiid than this guy.
Yeah. Well, they'll likely try that whole Anunoby coming down, playing off. I mean, they've got a bunch of things. Again, this comes back to Tibbs. He has a whole bunch of things that he can do. But
I think the Knicks' weaknesses are the same as the Sixers'
and be
weaknesses.
dominant
I think that the rebounding is the problem because you got rid of your best rebounder and your other best rebounder is hurt. So you're depending on Towns to be that guy. He is. I mean, yeah, he's not big because he's a hustle rebounder, but at the same time, like I think that's both the Sixers and the Knicks seem to have the same weaknesses, in my opinion. And neither one of them play the style of basketball that Boston plays. So you're trying to match up against Boston, but you really can't, because they're so athletic. But we'll see. Mitchell Robinson's a big piece that you're missing right now. I think you need that guy.
The other issue is there's a lot of talk around the league, and I like this guy. I wanted the Sixers to get him, but there's a lot of talk about Anunoby not wanting to play when he's banged up. I know you've heard it, right?
I haven't heard that.
You haven't heard that.
I haven't heard that.
Okay. I'm telling you, there's chatter around the league that he doesn't play hurt.
Which is odd because he's often hurt.
Chalky?
What am I talking about now?
Oh, I didn't know if you wanted to add to this.
Are you saying that because of the Porzingis injury?
I haven't heard from him.
I think the Knicks win the division, but they do not win the East. That's a big part. Boston played deep. They have guys that have missed time before. Boston's the most talented team in the East. Let's bar none. But Porzingis makes a huge difference there. So depending on how much time he misses, I think if the Knicks stay healthy, they could win more games than Boston or certainly the Sixers in the regular season. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how Boston is. Right? That's the big thing. I mean, they won it. So which Boston team shows up this year?
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. Like they were always questioned for their heart. You know what I mean? And then last year they won. So now do they come back with that same hunger? Now they did add Holiday, so maybe Holiday added heart to to their team. But do they have the same hunger this year?
Yeah, so you guys alluded to the Sixers, maybe not doing as well in the regular season. So Vegas has them at 50.5 as their over-under for wins. They had, 54 last year. So, almost 3.5 or 3.5 last. So where do you think, Jason, on that with the over-under?
I think they'll be over. I think they're going to be a really good team. Like, they're going to be a nice team. And like you mentioned, when Embiid doesn't play, they have a legit center now.
They can't do that.
Right?
Yeah, and Chalky mentioned George and Embiid with the the back-to-backs. I mean, do you think they're not going to sit them in the same game? Don't you think
Not
they'll
both, not both at the same time. They'll,
Right.
yeah, they'll.
I mean, I think it depends on who the back-to-backs are. Like, their first one or one of the first ones, they got the Knicks one night, and then I forget who the second night. Like, you're not sitting one of those two against the Knicks. You're playing one of them. So if Boston's on a back-to-back, they're both playing in that game. But if you have Charlotte and Atlanta, you might see one play one and one sit. But they have a couple tough back-to-backs where it's like both teams are good, and it's like they may end up playing both of them, but you can't really afford to sit a guy.
Didn't Embiid just come out and say he probably will never play another back-to-back in his career?
And that's what he said in the ESPN interview. Yeah. So, I mean, it's possible he doesn't, but where was the schedule?
What I would say about that is
you're just
if you're
giving the game up if you don't play.
you're in
so.
line to
they don't seem like
possibly
they care about the
be a third seed,
They don't
you want
necessarily
it
need the win in the
because
regular
I would in the second round you're going to play Boston,
I mean, it's their
assuming
fault.
Boston's going to
We'll
be the
see.
number one seed, even though Chalky thinks they won't. So maybe at the end of the season you're kind of looking at that and seeing if you want to give these guys rest based on where you're seated. I wouldn't want to play Boston in the second round, which is kind of what I'm predicting they will be doing. Seeding is going to matter.
Yeah, I think one of the important parts of getting George was that you can win games without
Against teams that
like
stink.
last year. You saw how bad they were at times when they had when Embiid was out. Now with like Maxey and George can win games.
And you have Drummond. Drummond is
and you have a backup.
Yeah.
Now.
yeah.
So I would put. Well, how about you, Omar? You on the over or under on that 50.5?
No, I'm on the under. Yeah, I'm on the under.
And then let me just guess on the Knicks were 54.5. You're on the over.
I'm on the over.
Chalky, you're falling.
I think
on
the
under
numbers
for
are right
the
about
Sixers,
where
or-
they were going to be, but I'm going to go
Slight
under.
over.
Vegas don't care about the slight. It's over, right? Either
52
Yeah.
wins.
Well, I had him at 49 wins, so I guess I'm
Weaker.
under. So
wow, shocking. Vegas picked a number that should be right where I'm surprised at that.
Yeah. Let's jump back to the Knicks real fast because let's talk about their bench. And I'm not breaking balls. I want to talk about their bench. So what is Robinson's injury? Is it the injury he got in the playoffs, or did he get hurt in the offseason?
Oh man, it keeps compiling. It's his leg, but yeah, it's from the playoffs. It's a holdover from the playoffs.
Okay. So now
We won't
what's
see
the
him back
bench?
this year.
That McBride guy, right?
Yeah, McBride is Precious, who you know very well. Tyler Cole, who's
Lagging.
been, pretty good in the in the off season.
They don't.
Campaign, who you know very well, right?
So they don't have.
The bench is, they'll have to figure it out.
They don't.
What's his alias? Ben Johnson or something? Was he?
Oh yeah.
Name wasn't when he got arrested.
Yeah. Wait, and one more quick thing before we move on.
Landry Shamet too. I forgot he's on New York now.
Yeah, Shaman. Yeah, he fell. What is this whole controversy with Rick Brunson now?
Yeah, that's
And-
what I was going to ask you, Omar, as well.
And
Yeah.
what, DiVincenzo?
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah.
because he said that's when they run the house.
So is Brunson kind of like chirping in the background to like it's
No,
form the
basically he said, this is what happens when they let you run the house because, DiVincenzo's no longer there and Brunson's behind the scenes helping to make.
But is that the rumor that Brunson is kind of like in the background, like telling him what moves he wants to fit around?
Yeah, I mean, he obviously has influence, right? That's known. So, it is what it is, right? And I'll tell you though, we all love Dante DiVincenzo, and this is great. And I think that's why he's probably going to get 6 man if they have him coming off the bench, because he's super motivated.
Yeah, but I think what Jason's alluded to, it could add to like just internal turmoil outside of Vincenzo. He's off the team, but like you do still have Bridges.
Oh, you're
Hart.
saying Knicks, yeah.
Yeah, within. I mean, if you got a guy like back in the day, Eric Lindros's father was kind of wanting the Flyers to do this and that, and this, and that causes all kinds of crap within.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, I mean, this guy's on the bench.
You're right.
Munson's an assistant coach. It's not just somebody's pop sitting back to yell. Like, he's on the bench, and as a he came with Jalen, right? He wasn't on Tibbs' staff on the Knicks before Jalen came. I know he's in Minnesota; they were there, but I mean, he basically orchestrated Jalen going to New York once Dallas they decided they were staying in Dallas. So he's pulling some of the string.
Yeah. No, you're right. We'll see. The ballot point.
All right. Well, let's. I think we should move to going through some of the divisions here, where we have them. We have them ranked, and
I have the Celtics,
with
the Knicks,
we'll
the
start
Sixers,
with the East,
Toronto,
I have that
and
first on
Brooklyn.
my list, and we'll start with the Atlantic, and I'll just go around the horn with who I'm seeing first, who's Meeker. So you want to give your Atlantic order? Okay, Jason.
I have the Celtics, Sixers, Knicks, Toronto, and Brooklyn.
No, I already went.
Omar.
Chalky.
I have the Knicks, Celtics, 76ers, and then the Raptors in Brooklyn.
And Meeker.
No, Meeker did.
Oh, I'm sorry, Chalky.
Knicks, Celtics, Sixers, Raptors, Nets.
All right, and I saw like Meeker, Boston Knicks, Sixers, Toronto, and Brooklyn. All right, we'll move on to the Central. That's you, Jason.
So I have a team that didn't get drafted, and I think has a legit chance, and I think they're going to win the division. That's Cleveland, the Cavaliers. I like them this year a lot. They're plus 195 to win the division. I already bet them. Bucks second, Pacers third, Pistons and Bulls.
All right, Omar.
I have the Bucks. I actually don't like Cleveland. So I have
Pacers, Bucks, Cleveland, Chicago, Detroit.
Bulls, and
first three teams all make the playoffs.
Okay, Chalky.
Bucks, Pacers, Cavaliers, Bulls, Pistons.
Meeker.
I don't dislike them. I think those top three teams in that division could be interchangeable. Any of those
I
three
actually
teams
thought I was clever, but I had Cleveland, Milwaukee, Indiana, Detroit, and Chicago.
I don't understand the dislike of Cleveland. They're a good team this year. Well, good.
Yeah, I mean, like for championship, Milwaukee has odds that are like obviously far better than Cleveland, but Cleveland, Indiana's odds are basically the same. Or they are the same. So I know. And Milwaukee has, you don't know what you're going to get with Milwaukee. So, all right. And then this Southeast, which is Omar's turn.
Southeast, I have
same.
The Magic for like a lot. The Heat, Hawks, Hornets, and Wizards. I think that's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, Chalky.
Yep, straightforward. Magic, Heat, Hawks, Hornets, Wizards.
Meeker. Jason.
I like Orlando a lot too this year. They have a outside shot. Don't discount them. I think it's the same as you guys. I do have the Wizards over the Hornets, though.
Yeah,
the one.
Yeah, I actually had Miami in a little bit of a sleeper over Orlando. Then I had the Wizards, Charlotte, the whole thing. All right, now let's go to the West, and we are with the Pacific, and it is Chalky's turn.
For Pacific, that will be, well, none of these teams have a chance to do. Let's say Lakers, Suns, Clippers, Kings, Warriors.
I really appreciate all the
Phoenix,
prep and research you
Lakers,
put into
Clippers,
putting
Kings,
that
I was
division
looking
together.
at Northwest is the next
First four
next
teams
division
make
on
the
my list
playoffs.
here, so I was mentally thinking about that.
Well, it should be written down, and you just go to the next box.
I'll write it down. Come on now, don't buy Jays.
Meeker, Jason.
I think Phoenix is pretty legit this year and has a chance to win. Obviously they need help of Durant, but I think the Kings are legit too this year. I mean, I don't think they could win a championship, but I think they're legit. So Kings, Lakers, Phoenix, and Clippers. Not Phoenix, Golden State and the Clippers.
He's always
And Omar.
ridiculous.
Kings, Suns, Lakers, Warriors, Clippers.
Southwest,
Yeah,
Dallas,
Phoenix, Lakers,
Memphis,
Sacramento,
New
Golden
Orleans,
State, and the
Houston,
Clippers,
San Antonio.
as well.
First
And the
three
Clippers
teams
got
make
that
the
news
playoffs.
about
Well, two is a play-in.
Kawhi's out indefinitely.
Memphis
so
and New
no one
Orleans.
knows what's going to happen with them. All right, we move back to Meeker, and it's the Southwest.
Not much around them.
Okay, Jason.
Yeah, that's wrong, Meeker. So obviously I have Dallas in the division, but San Antonio has a
It's tough to do. Yeah, tough one.
what's the name player, like a all-time player on their team. So they are not finishing last. There's no chance. So I got them second. I have Houston, who's also legit. This is a good division, actually. This is a really good division. And then I do have New Orleans and then Memphis.
Oh, they were a mess last year.
finishing last.
That's all. Yeah, they were a mess last year.
Omar.
That is madness. Memphis finishing last. I mean, complete madness. Memphis is a really good team. We can talk about that another time. We won't have time here, but
No, we can talk about it. Why not?
they are
That's what these
they're a
division
really
picks are
they're a
for.
really good team.
We'll see.
What's
Yeah,
so
we'll
good
see
about
about that.
And Edie is going to make. I mean, he is going to help. That is a big man that's going to make some changes.
Did you see any of these robots that Elon Musk has built?
He
Did you see
is
the
the
one in Woodville?
listen.
That's
He is the rookie of the year. You can put that wherever. He's the best guy that came out. He will. John Morant is now back. I mean, come on, they've got so much talent. Desmond
He got
Bain,
his
Darren Zach,
feet.
it's
He got his feet off of a Sigismondi concrete truck.
they've got a bench. They've got some young guys. I'm telling you, Memphis is a good team. Now they won't beat Dallas. Dallas will be first, but it's Memphis is second. You're actually right. I do like the Spurs. Spurs third, Rockets, and then the Pelicans. Pelicans might make some moves, so who knows?
He's not much around them though. Just not much there.
Chalky.
Pelicans, Rockets, Mavericks, Grizzlies, Spurs.
So I have
He's a generational player. I don't see how. All right, okay.
So wait, let me give
Yeah, let Tommy go. Let Tommy
I have
go.
Dallas, and then I have, if you look, written San Antonio, all-time player, hard to keep down. I swear to God, that's what I've written there.
Yeah, he's a
I really do.
generational. Like he might become the greatest player of all time. Legitimately, he might.
It's
And the
hard
Bulls
for
were
a guy
bad
like
for a lot
that.
of years when Jordan became the best player of all time.
Yeah, but they got some players around him. They
Chris
got some
Paul is
guys-
going to help him a lot. Chris Paul is going to help him a whole bunch.
He will.
It
I
sure
mean, look,
is.
like I agree. Whoever said it was Meeker? Maybe I don't agree then, but I think this could be
Which
end up
is a
being
big
a pretty
jump.
competitive division. I mean, you look at the Pacific last year.
Yes.
Every team in that division.
What I
finished
said was
10
it's
games
hard
over
to figure
500.
out
I don't
this
think it'll
division. I
be
said
that
all
kind
these
of great
teams are
division,
kind of
but I think they'll be
good.
pretty closely bunched
They're
up.
good.
So, but they could win
Yes,
30.
okay.
They could have a 15-game improvement and still finish last in the division. Go from 22 to 37 and still finish last.
I said it was a good division, actually. Meeker didn't say it.
Well, then, yeah, it was a good point. Then it was a good point. I agree with it. No, it's not hard to figure out the Pelicans are going to win.
Yeah. All right, Northwest, finish off, and that is Jason.
OKC, Denver, Minnesota, Utah, and Portland.
Denver, OKC, Minnesota, Utah,
Omar.
Portland.
OKC, Minnesota, Denver, the Jazz, and Trailblazers.
Chalky.
Thunder, Nuggets, Timberwolves, Jazz, Trailblazers.
Meeker.
They could finish a game apart. They could finish a game apart. I mean, it's interchangeable to me.
Yeah, I actually had. I was in between. I actually leaned towards Denver as well over OKC to win that. I just think, again, like a player like Joker is just hard to keep down again. Like have another year or so. But
Regular season, yeah.
and then I don't. The rest of that sucked. Okay, there's
Like they did last year.
Well, real quick with OKC is Frankenstein broke his hand, so he might be out 2 months. That might hurt.
Yeah, that will hurt them.
yeah, especially when you're
Definitely.
talking division. When you're talking division.
Right, in a tough division.
Okay. Before we go into some maybe awards, why don't we give out our conference? Who's playing in the conference game? We'll start with our guest Omar for the East, and for the West.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's Knicks Boston in the East. That one will be tough. Again, it'll come down to health. I'm gonna give the Knicks the nod just because I'm a Knicks fan. Quite frankly, that one. But so that's who I see in the East. In the West, I have OKC, and I wanted to, I did want to put Memphis in there, but that's a little aggressive. So I'll just go OKC, Denver, with OKC getting the nod.
Okay, Chalky, where did you see this conference playing out?
East, I think it's the Sixers against either the Celtics.
I have Boston and the Knicks in the East.
I'm going to say
Boston
Celtics.
beating the Knicks. I have Oklahoma City and
on how they
Denver
were
in the West,
seeded.
and I have Oklahoma City winning in the
So
West.
West, Oklahoma City versus Denver, and then I have Sixers and Oklahoma City winning their respective conferences.
Okay, Mika. Jason,
Same as Chalky.
which was
Sixers,
Sixers,
Celtics,
Boston.
Thunder, Nuggets, and then Sixers and Oklahoma City. Sixers, Celtics,
Yeah,
Nuggets, Thunder, and then Sixers playing the Thunder.
Yeah, and I had Boston Sixers, Boston winning that. I had Denver, Dallas, and Denver going back to the title game against Boston. So,
Boston.
nothing crazy. All right. How about some awards? Do you want to?
What? Does everybody want to give their champion?
Oh, I thought that I didn't even realize. Yeah. Go ahead. We'll go back to Omar.
I've got OKC winning it all.
Chalky.
OKC.
Meeker. Jason.
OKC plus 650.
I will go to Boston. to win back to back for the first time for a while. I forget I did read it, but yeah. All right. So awards. It's I don't know, what awards did you want to go through? Obviously MVP, defense, coach. I don't know.
Yeah, I had MVP, coach, most improved defense, and 6-man, and I'll give a rookie. You guys don't have to have them all, but I have those.
All right. Well, kick us off, Jason. You set the template, and then we can
Yeah.
guys file.
I mean, I'm going to be slightly chalky with MVP. I think Shea Alexander is going to win at 5, but 5-1 is a terrible price. I have Wembanyama at either 100-1 or 50-1,
go
which
around.
I bet at the end of last year. He's only 20-1 now, but I think I have no value
my
with
two
him.
value
I
picks
think
for
Edwards at
MVP,
12 to
maybe
1
not
is
too
value.
much
I
value,
think
but
Brunson at
Giannis is only 8
18-1
to
is
1,
value,
so I like
and I
that.
think
And I also like
Halliburton at 100
Anthony
to 1
Edwards at
has
12 to
value.
1.
You want to keep going, or you want to just do MVP? You want to go through some of your others? Or...
Whatever you guys think. I mean, why don't we give everybody's MVP and then
All right, Meeker, what you have? You want to talk?
He is the favorite. Him or
Okay. Omar, did you have thoughts on MVP?
Jokic.
Yeah, I think this is Luka. I think this is Luka. I think Clay allows Luka to do more, and Luka ends up being MVP. I know the odds are he's one of the favorites, but
That's
he
what I
is
was
the
gonna say.
favorite.
yeah, I think it's spot on.
And Chalky.
SGA.
So Jason and Chalky very similar in their basketball opinion.
Yeah.
I would imagine
Yeah.
Jason's real happy about that.
Well, trophies. All right.
That's a real strong vote of confidence there for you.
I'm not the worst one he could be paired up with.
Well, we're not going to get into that.
Jason, go ahead. You take the helm again.
All right, I'll just go coach of the year. I think Nurse at 15-1, and then I think I had this guy last year, Mobley for Orlando. He's 12-1. I had way better odds last year, but I think he's got a legit shot.
Yeah, what coach? It's like how does that tend to go? I mean, they don't just go with the best team. It's kind of like for instance,
I think
it's Mosley.
Like
but
guys
yes, that's
have
my pick too.
expectations.
Yeah, I mean Nurse.
That's my pick too for
probably
coach of
doesn't,
the
but
year.
It's probably a
I
guy
think
like
Orlando's going to
Mobley,
be a
like
tough team.
mid-level, a guy that's like Udoka is coaching the Rockets, right? Now, I think he's the favorite. I don't like to pick favorites in this stuff, but that's why I think Mobley's got some value because he's got a young team. You know what I mean? So,
Meeker.
why did I call Mobley? Yeah, it's Mosley. Yep, you're right.
Omar, any thoughts here?
Taylor Jenkins. You know who he coaches, Jason? Taylor Jenkins?
I do. The
Okay.
team that
I will
I
find it.
don't know why you think.
Write it down.
Ooh.
Taylor
ahead.
Jenkins again. It's
All
a
right.
good team.
What's his odds?
Solid team.
Do we have odds?
You have his odds?
We
use DraftKings. Chalky's usually good with that.
DraftKings does not give me coach of the year. in
Really?
Maybe because you're in a crappy state.
Yeah.
Let's see. You guys can keep talking. I don't.
Chalky, who did you have?
Yeah, like they didn't give me the odds, so I didn't really put any thought into it. But is Willie Green still coaching the Pelicans? Whoever's coaching the Pelicans will win coach of the year.
Jenkins is 14-1. Willie Green, is he still the coach? I don't even know. Yeah, he's 22.
He's still the coach. Yep.
22-1. Yeah,
There you go. Willie Green, 22-1.
Okay. Jason, back to you.
So most improved player, I have 3 guys. I think it's insane that Wembanyama is only like 7.5.
No, I did not write anything down for
I
most
mean,
improved.
I think he's going to come up and be like a legit MVP candidate this year. But I also have Barnes for Toronto at 18-1. And I had Giddey last year at much better odds, and he just didn't work out. But I think now that he's on the Bulls at 14-1, I think he's got some value. Josh Giddey.
I'm looking on this
Me
list
too.
now,
Your
and
thought on that.
hold on one second. I'm looking on this list now, and Paolo Banchero is 35-1, but
Okay,
he
Omar.
already was good, so I'm really not sure like how
I
could
did
how
not
much he
either.
could
I'm looking
improve.
here now.
This might be the reason why.
I do like
Doing
Kate
the chalk.
Cunningham.
Doing the chalky
Yeah, I don't know
flaws.
how
Yeah,
much
like it.
ceiling there is there. Well, he
Yeah.
can improve, but I
like
don't think
Kate
he'll
Cunningham
win.
on
But
this
that's
list.
good
It looks
odds.
like he's
if he balls out. So
18
I
to
thought
1.
about him. Yeah, I thought about him.
Yeah.
good talk.
Chalky.
Not you.
How much? Yeah, how much? Like, how much ceiling does?
Are we
Yeah,
done or
Carl.
going back to anybody else? We're on to me? Okay.
I didn't technically get
Uh,
back to Meager. He hijacked it, but good.
I think Wembanyama being as good as you think he might be, Jason, will actually take him out of the conversation. I think people will just bypass that award and give it to somebody else if he's a legit MVP candidate. So I said Cunningham. I've been waiting for Cunningham to take the next step for like 3 years now, but at 18-1, I'll say
The
Cunningham.
only issue with that, Chalky, is remember with John Morant. Remember what happened with him. Like, he was great, and then everybody was like, "Oh, it's not fair that they're just going to give it to him," and they gave it to him.
So I was gonna
So-
say, yeah, I was gonna say it's almost like the consolatory prize that like we see with Offensive Player of the Year. It's like the MVP always goes to the quarterback, so Offensive Player of the Year,
Yeah.
best
Yeah.
non-quarterback. So it's like Wembanyama, although Luka's gonna win, so we'll just give Wembanyama most improved. Even though
I mean, look, Morant was a good player. He was a high pick, but Wembanyama is, as everybody says, a generational player. So I think to some extent it's expected, and maybe they're going to reward a guy that wasn't as good to start with.
Yeah, but they also like to give those guys awards, and the fact that if
Yeah, I like Tommy's analogy there because, like, if they might want to give him an award.
yeah,
I think, yeah. If I mean, look, if he wins MVP, he should be most improved player, but they won't give him both.
no,
Right.
no,
Short
crap,
of MVP,
crap.
then that could be the consolation prize. Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
what I
right.
think it. Yeah, I think that's what it turns into for that is the consolation prize.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're back to you, Jason, for if you had something defensive, maybe.
So
Yeah, I'm going to go back
Here
to
you go.
Rudy Gobert at
Defensive Player of the
14-1
Year.
this year, and
Who the hell
Mobley
is
at
that?
16-1.
Oh, okay. Wembanyama is like minus money, so probably going to get that award. I had him 50-1 last year. It's a whole nother story. But I have Mobley. That's not Mosley, but I have Mobley for Cleveland because I'm hiring him at 18-1, and Caruso at 30-1. I thought they were value.
Meeker, anything written for that? Omar?
I didn't have anything. I mean, Wembanyama, I think he just wins. It's not even close.
Yeah. Probably.
Chalky?
One of the best defensive players goes to one of the best defensive coaches, Mikal Bridges, at 60-1.
Okay. Jason, was there anything else there? I lost track.
I had Nas Reed for 6-man, but that's not value. He's like 7.5-1. And then rookie of the year, I had Reed Shepard, but that's not value either. He's like 6-1 or something like that.
Yeah, Omar, I know you mentioned DiVincenzo for 6-man early on the show. Is that what's
Yep.
the odds?
Yep.
Is that a value?
Is he on the bench though? Let me see.
Both.
Yeah, they got him on the bench. Yep.
All right, before we end this segment, anybody else want to add an award we didn't talk about or one that Jason just mentioned or any other final comments when it comes to the NBA season?
So I have one other bet. So it's, I guess it's not most threes made in total, but most threes made per game. DiVincenzo at 100-1. He's going to be 6-man, but he's going to get a lot of minutes, and he's going to be gunning.
Wait,
he's
say-
pissed off.
say again,
Rated.
it was what, like the average?
It's not
Jason's got
total
my picks up.
three pointers
Yeah, he's got
made.
it.
I don't believe it's the average per game of 3-pointers made.
Gotcha. Okay.
Hunter,
I think that'll wrap up our 2024-25 NBA preview show. Well, it's been a long show, so we're going to try to move quickly through the Eagles and the picks. Meeker, do we still have you? Or are you dropping off? Not sure.
Perfect.
All right, Meeker, have a good night. All right, let's move to the Eagles now. Eagles played the Browns. A lot of slop we got to watch during that game. Possibly the two worst quarterbacks in the league, in my opinion. But we did get to watch. We saw a meltdown of a coach at the end of the game. It was just a lot really came out of that game. I think I was the only one, and Amika may have only one to predict kind of a closer game.
No, I
Um,
think you were.
I,
I can
I thought
believe.
Meeker had him. I'm
Maybe
not
you
sure,
did.
but
I don't know.
yeah, I can't remember, but I mean, I was almost exact on the score, but it played out how I thought it was going to play out. I mean, honestly, I just think their Eagles are just not a good team and not capable of really putting anybody away. Their offense just looks. I mean, Lane Johnson said it. They look constipated. I thought that was actually a pretty good use of the word. Um, and we'll talk about the Eagles Giants, but yeah, I just think they're a team that is not run by a very good coach. The offense isn't run by a very good quarterback at the moment, and the defense, you don't know what you're going to get from game to game. I mean, sometimes they look okay, sometimes they look terrible. So um, the Cleveland is a really bad football team. I mean, that was evident, and I think that's the only reason why the Eagles won the game. Jason, anything quickly on the recap of the game last week?
Yeah, I mean, my notes say barely beat a bad team. Cleveland had the ball first and goal late in the fourth quarter and had two bad penalties that moved them back. And basically, they were first and goal with, I think, in the 4 yard line or something.
Yeah, that would have been to tie it. Well, theoretically,
Or
an
do
extra
they
point
go
to
for
tie it
two
because
at
they were
that
down
point?
7 at that.
Maybe they go for two. Who knows at that
Yeah,
point?
it's possible. Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So I think that hurt them. Sirianni is an absolute clown, which I've said for a long time now. I think an underrated play in that game that I think this is a type of play that could really piss guys off is what Barkley did by running out of bounds and not getting the first down on that play before the half, which caused them to go for the field goal there, which caused them to get a field goal block there. So I think
I,
that's
I
the
don't.
type
I
of
mean,
play.
I,
What's that?
I was gonna say it's. I know you want to blame Barkley and obviously Barkley, but I think that goes back to coaching too because like he was so gung ho about get. I don't think it was to avoid a hit. I know. I don't know if that's what you're thinking, but
I mean, that's
he to me, it was to get out of bounds, to not have to use a timeout. They still had, it was like just, I almost want to say like he was told, like in the huddle, they're saying, all right, let's get out. You know what I mean? Like that clock management of, I just don't think they're coached. I just think they're coached so
I
poorly
know, but I mean,
that,
I think he's got to lower his shoulder there
yeah, but
and
there
get.
wasn't really somebody near him. There wasn't like a guy that was bearing down on him. I mean, he had time.
I don't know. Something about him. He's starting to remind me of like a losing player. The two things I'll throw in is Melodic got hurt, and I think that could be an issue. And I don't know what Goddard's status is going to be. So that's all I got.
Yeah, there was a bunch. I don't know. Chalky is up. Slay was like had a problem with practice. Jalen Carter, I think, missed practice
Yeah, he
today
missed
as
practice
well.
today. Yep.
yeah,
So
he's
injuries.
not
I mean,
he's
Giants
not
have some
listed,
injuries
so
too.
he was on the injured list, so no one's really quite sure yet what his status is or what the issue is, but he did not practice today.
Yeah, I mean, when you say, I mean, just to give one positive about the Eagles, an underrated play was Brandon Graham on third down making that tackle,
Yeah.
on like the jet sweep or whatever. I mean, that saved. That's points for sure. It led to like a 50-yard field goal that was missed to start the half, and I think that was an underrated play for the positive. I mean, I tend to be negative this year with the Eagles, so go positive there. Chalky, anything quickly on the recap?
I mean, it wasn't. I don't feel any better about the team because they won the game. I mean, if you want to say the defense looked better, great. They had 5 sacks against the third string center and what worst offense in the league. but they
Right.
did the job. They only let up 9 points, so you can't really knock them for that. I think the Eagles are now 19-1 in games where Hurts does not turn the ball over. So that he didn't have a great game, but the 2 touchdown throws were check downs. I think he made the line, so I guess those were good calls, and he didn't turn the ball over. And it's just so much better to have AJ Brown in the lineup than not. But I'm worried that default becomes throw a go route, throw a ball up to AJ Brown, and we're going to rely too much on that as opposed to like the mesh play that. I mean, Smith caught the ball at the 45-yard line, and basically walked into the end zone. Like that was a really nice play, but we don't see enough of that.
Yeah, Omar, thoughts on the Eagles Cleveland game?
No, I think you guys covered it. You know, my challenge with it comes back to coaching. 1, 2. I think Jalen is just overthinking it. They've coached. It's coached it out of him to run early and often. So he continues to do the same thing, holding on to the ball too long. And again, we didn't get a turnover this game, which means as we get to the preview for the Giants game, you know it's coming. And I just don't look forward to it.
Yeah, I mean we've if you've listened, we've talked about Hurts a lot, and I saw something about like Moore's offense in the whatever years he's been offense coordinator. They've had motion like I think with Dak he was under center 40% of the time with Dak Prescott. With Herbert he was and like now it's this offense is completely that they barely run motion again. He's always in shotgun. I mean, it has to be like Hurts, right? I mean, nobody. It can't just be all the coaches that come here forget how to coach. It has to be they're playing to what they feel would be successful for Hurts. They don't go to the middle of the field. It's just like they stay on they stay, which is the easier kind of reads on defense. So, I mean, your thoughts there? We've been crushing Hurts for the last couple of weeks, but it's
Yeah, I
to me,
mean,
it's
I
the
don't know,
most
but
important.
what changed though?
The
I mean,
important reason
the
why
guy
they
he got injured. I mean, is he still thinking about that? He doesn't seem like a player who's scared. So
So
the talent
yeah,
is there. The talent is still there, right? I mean, go ahead.
what happens is, and it happens a lot, the Eagles had the best offense in the league in 2022. In the offseason, every defensive coordinator in the league, every defensive coordinator in the league said, how do we stop this offense? Right? What do we do to stop this? And they figured it out. Now, are you able to then adjust to what's getting figured out? I don't think he's a good enough quarterback to do that. I just don't think he is. And I think they figured out how to stop him. I think he's good against man, and he's not good against zone. So you're getting zone, you're getting pressure on him, and he holds the ball too long. He's not a good passer. I never liked his throwing motion. He's just not to me, he's a subpar, below average quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much the same thing Jason just said. I think they the defenses now don't show it. They disguise what they're
Mm-hmm.
in, and it takes maybe it takes a half a second to a second for him to realize that, and then he has to go through a progress. There's a lot of things in the position that he can't do. I think, and I said it back in 22. They used Hurts like he wasn't the quarterback of the future. They used him as they just ran him into. I mean, he was taking hits. He was running, like you said, on early downs. There was design runs. He was fast too, and he looks slower. They look like they want to be cautious with him. He looks like he wants to be a little more cautious. So you have all that, and then you add in the defenses are, no, he likes to go to his right. So they take that away. They do, and it's just a combination of like, he's not a good quarterback and he can't make up the difference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know. What about you, Omar? I mean, what is
No,
your take on that?
I unfortunately agree with you. For me, I'm still stuck. It's interesting because Jason for a long time, Jason likes pocket passers. Like that was your thing. The new NFL, you got to get out, you got to move the pocket, you got to have motion, you have to run. So Jalen was that, and they did that. And I think why you
Yeah,
hate why you
but go ahead. I'm sorry. Go
no,
ahead.
what and Jason specifically why he disliked Jalen before was because of all the movement, all the stuff, Tommy, that you mentioned, running, motion, quick to go, wasn't kind of going through the reads and things like that. As you get older, you get better with those things. Um, the problem is he just did not get better, and he's not even doing those things that he did before. So
Correct.
this comes back to coaching for me, right? They said, hey, right, and Jason, to your liking, we need you to go through your progression. We need you to stay in the pocket a little bit more, do all these things. He couldn't figure that out. For me, I say, well, he can't figure it out. Revert back to that old guy, and be dynamic. Now he can't even do that. So,
Yeah, I mean,
who are
his
you?
lateral movement is definitely slower. He
Well,
like
you
up
know what
like straight.
happens. Like you said, you start taking hits like that, you're not going to last. You're not going to.
He
Your legs.
also they want to post him squatting 4, 5, 600 pound, whatever he
Yeah,
squat.
that's
Like
true.
for a quarterback, that's meaning like take Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes. I mean, all these guys, it isn't about strength. It's about flexibility. It's about it's like things like this 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 being the strongest guy on the field as a quarterback. I mean, to me, that slows him down as well. And you said that the way the quarterback position is today, that it's true. It is going that way, and that's why we see so much poor quarterback play. But the teams that are successful don't do that. San Francisco has a pocket quarterback. Say what you want about Mahomes, he's a pocket quarterback that uses
Yeah.
his legs when he needs to. Jared Goff is a pocket quarterback on that offense. I
Love,
mean, yeah,
love.
you got
Okay.
guys like Jackson, even Allen, who can move, but you see they're not successful in the play. Allen's never been successful in the playoffs, although he might have won a championship. He should have went to a Super Bowl. Jackson has, like these pocket guys, these traditional offenses still are the most successful as the games become more important.
Yeah, in the
Um,
playoffs, you're right. Yeah.
so I mean that's always how I'm going to feel too. But all right, so let's move to Eagles Giants. Chalky, you haven't talked, so we'll let you kick off. What do you think? It's 3.5 minus 102. So I guess it's been teetering at that three line. Uh, I mean that's probably the right line. I don't know what Giants are missing their left tackle now and dealing with some offensive line injuries as well. But
Yeah, I mean the Giants, Neighbors is coming back this week. It sounds like, but their left tackle's done. Thibodeau's out. Lawrence is questionable, so I don't know if he's playing or not. And Burns is questionable.
did and their other guy he's hurt now, but has he been
Thibodeau's
hurt? I don't even know.
on IR. Thibodeau's on IR.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
out. He did he. I don't even know when he got hurt, but he's out there.
he's a
Yeah, he's
couple. So they got a lot of guys banged up. I don't. I mean, the Eagles should win. I don't feel great about it because they haven't played two real decent games back to back yet this year. I even think they played decent last week. Um, I'm gonna. I think it's gonna be an ugly Eagles win. 16-13, maybe not that. I mean, like, Cincinnati has one of the worst defenses in the league, and the Giants couldn't do anything against them. I mean, Cincinnati is one of the best offenses, and the reason they're 2-4, whatever they are, is because their defense is atrocious. And Daniel Jones just now again, that's without Neighbors, who's very good, who's played very well so far.
right.
Maybe he comes back and makes a difference. Um, but the Eagles secondary is playing pretty well. And I'll the pass rush won't be as good as it was last week, but with Thomas out, they should get a little more pressure. So I'll say they win a 16-13 game.
Yeah, Jason, how about you?
So for me, like if you look beyond the noise of perception, right? The perception is the Eagles are better than the Giants. But if you look at their points per play, yards per point, offensively and defensively, teams are pretty similar. Um, But then you may say, well, Daniel Jones is awful, and he is. He's a terrible quarterback. Jalen Hurts, he's a little better than him, but we already spoke about Hurts. So, but then you look at the injuries and Neighbors, like Chalk you mentioned, Neighbors is coming back, and that's going to help the Giants. Thibodeau's out, that's going to hurt the Giants. But then the Eagles don't have Mike Mailata, and we don't know what's going to happen with Goddard. So to me, I hear all the national guys saying the Eagles is the pick of the week and the lock of the week and this and that. I don't see it that way. I'm sorry. I think this has a ugly, Meadowlands game written all over it. I have the Giants win in 2017.
Okay. Omar.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you guys. The the thing when I look at the Giants, they don't blitz that often. So it's about, how much pressure they're going to get on Hurts. Um, which I don't know that you need to blitz to get pressure on this team, but I do think because they will hold their own, the Eagles will nudge it out, um, but not cover the spread. So I do like the Eagles to win, but um, not cover the 3.5.
Yeah, and I'm similar to Jason in the fact that I have this as like I know the line's 3.5, which is saying it's probably closer to 5.5, 6 if it was on a neutral field, obviously. Which I just don't. I just don't see it. I'm not as high on the Eagles as like some of the national. Like you look at power rankings, but and I think this is the game where like now that fans are against Sirianni, the players they may be back in Sirianni, like it. So like they're saying they can rally around this and that, but it's the game where like does the season go left? Does the season go right? And I, they have over the last 2 years they've done nothing to prove to me that they can overcome adversity. They've quit in the past, and Jason alluded to that a few weeks ago. There's you got guys that don't, but I don't really like a lot of the attitudes of like the Johnson, the CJ, whatever his name is, and Jalen Carter obviously is all kinds of crazy. So I see this is where the season goes off to the right, and by right I mean kind of like the the beginning to the end, if not the end of Sirianni. Um, 27-24 Giants. Now, it could be even worse if Hurts wants to turn the ball over a lot. And I think if it's a game where it's bad, I don't know if Sirianni survives. I know we keep talking about it. We don't think he's going to get fired. The Eagles don't really do that, but I don't know. The things he's doing now is borderline like something's wrong with his brain. Like he has like some kind of you're gonna find a tumor or
Yeah.
something, and you
He,
like this.
he
Like
like
I
he's to me I'm embarrassed that he's Italian. Like he is such an embarrassment. He
yeah,
is
I don't
embarrassing.
understand. I really don't. Like he's a goof. He got crazy, um, and I think it's gonna go. It's gonna go sour. So I have him losing this game 27-24. Okay. I guess it's time to move in the picks.
Yep. So I'll give some stats. So last week was one of the biggest Joe Public chalk weeks, definitely the biggest of the year, one of the biggest of all time. Vegas got absolutely slaughtered last week. Um, First of all, the over unders, it was 10 overs and 3 unders, which is going to kill Vegas. So now over unders, there's actually more overs than unders this year, 45-44. And then the public was 11-3 because there was one push in over unders last week, which we'll get to. But the public was 11-3 against the spread. So now the public was 40-50 on the year. So that's how bad the public had been doing before last week.
Did you see the road favorites last week too? Did you see
They
that?
won and covered like every game.
9-0 road
Yeah,
favorites. It's
yeah.
insane.
So that's just terrible. Speaking of terrible, let's go to the Broad Street Hustle picks last week, where as a podcast, we went 1-9 last week. Okay.
Oh boy,
We went 1-9.
that is.
So I'll
That
start with
is-
the only winner we had, which was my best bet, which I wasn't even crazy about because I didn't like the spread, but the Chargers.
Yeah, you
Um,
protested so much about that, and that was the only one that
and that
won.
was the only win we had. So the Chargers covered, so I won that. But then I
And we'll
lost.
talk about that game as well. We'll talk about that game as
Yeah,
well because
Tommy
I
got
was
screwed with that
involved.
game. We moved to the Jaguars, which was maybe one of the worst picks of the year. Which, speaking of coaches that need to be fired, him. And then the Bills Jets, of course. I get a Hail Mary against me, so that blows the under in that game. Let's move to Chalky. Chalky went 0-2-1. He actually, Chalky, you're lucky you didn't get 2 losses for your Bucks Saints under.
But Bucks went
Because
over on their own.
yeah, I think there was like 100 points in that game, so that was not a good pick. Then you somehow pushed with your under with the Packers and Cardinals. I don't know how you
I
didn't
think
lose.
the only way that pushed is because the football gods were like, that's the head-to-head matchup, so that would mean there's 2 wins, so we're just gonna make it a push, which is worse than 1 winning and 1 losing.
Right.
Oh wow, I didn't even realize that. That's funny.
Yeah.
They pushed.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
funny.
And then the Jaguars and that we already mentioned. So that
Look good for like a quarter
we're
and a half.
terrible when the 3 of us have the same pick. When it's just me and Tommy, we're good. When it's the 3 of us, we're terrible. Speaking of terrible, let's go to Meeker, who's usually always terrible, but he was 0-2-1 last week. His Jets pick lost. We already talked about the push, which he had over. Chalky had under in the Green Bay Arizona game. And then he lost with the Tennessee Titans, who, I picked in something else, which why I would pick Will Levis or anybody would pick Will Levis to win a game is beyond me. And then we get to Tommy. Tommy was 0-3 last week. Lost on the Chargers Browns under.
If they played three quarters, what did he play in a quarter? 15 minutes. If they
Yeah.
played, 55 minutes, I would have been good. But
Yeah.
the Broncos, who couldn't move the football, scored 17 points in a minute and a half.
Yeah. So that was bad. Jaguars I already mentioned, horrific pick. And then the Patriots were just they're
Yeah,
another
they're just bad.
horrific team. So if we go to our records, for the year, Chalky is still the leader. He's 12-5. Do you guys hear something? Like a hissing?
Yeah, it's like water or something in the background.
I don't know. So Chalky was 12-5. He's a profit. He's
Just
12-5. Profit of $619. 71 win percentage. 36% ROI. I'm 9-8. Profit of $19. 53% win percentage. 1% ROI. Tommy's 8-10. Loss of 272. 44% win percentage. Minus 15% ROI. Meeker 7-10. Loss of 370. 41% win percentage. Minus 22% ROI. We had such a horrific week that we're now 36-33, a loss of $5 now, 52% win percentage, minus 0.1% ROI. Best bets, I'm 3-2, Tommy's 3-3, Chalky's 4-2, Meeker's 3-3, 13-10 in best bets. All time, I'm 72-50, profit of $1,527, 59% win percentage, 13% ROI. Tommy 61-57, still profitable, $76 profit, 52% win percentage, 1% ROI. Chalky 61-62, minus $580, 49.5% around win percentage, minus 5% ROI. Meeker 57-62, loss of $1,056, 48% win percentage, minus 9% ROI. As a podcast, we had such a horrific week. We're now down. We're 251 and 231, minus $32, 52% win percentage, minus 0.1% ROI. So still not terrible,
But it is a free podcast, and over 2 years, you got to really enjoy yourself with our picks, and
you're pretty much even.
You're pretty much even.
And between
all right.
the 3 of us, if we only made 2 picks a week, we would be profitable.
And if we lost the other guy,
I didn't want to just throw Meeker on the bus because the black hole has been my 3rd pick of the polling, minus 1,500 or whatever we're at now. But I mean, yeah. If there's only 2, we the 3 of us, we'd all be profitable.
All right. Well, this was the week I was going to have Mika go first, but in his absence, unfortunately, Chalky, you will be going first.
Uh-huh. All right. So best bet is going to be under in the. Where's my notes? Oh, Jesus
boy.
Christ!
Here
Was
we go. Oh boy. Oh, boy.
under in the Sunday night game, the Jets Pittsburgh. It's under 39, I believe. I gotta pull it up now. I wrote it down. I didn't save. Hold on. Yeah,
Where'd you write
under.
it? On your hand?
No, I put it in my Microsoft OneNote and it didn't carry over. That's next week. Hold on now. Yes, under 39 minus 112.
Okay.
Jets Steelers. Second pick is under 47 in the Chiefs 49ers game. That's minus 110. And then third, I'm going to go with Minnesota minus 1.5. That's minus 110. Detroit's coming off a shellacking of Dallas. And not the shock that Minnesota is favored necessarily, but like 90% of the bets are on Detroit so far. Minnesota's still favored, so I'm going to go Minnesota minus 1.5.
Do you want the Mika's picks?
Yeah, and this will be where Meeker gives his picks, and he didn't take tonight's game, did he? In the second
He did
quarter?
not take tonight's game. Omar, he took the Thursday night game in the second quarter,
While we're recording.
which he got.
And he
And
still
then,
lost.
and then his
And he
next
still
pick,
lost.
he bought a half a point. He bought a half a point.
And he
His
bought a
next
half
pick.
a point. Yeah. So Chalky, you'll be happy to know his best bet is the Lions plus 1.5.
All right.
Is that minus 110 still?
That's minus 110.
Okay. His second pick is the Panthers Commanders under 51.5 minus 112. Chalky, just if I'm not right, call it out. And then he had the Packers minus 3 plus 100.
That was the other side I was looking at, and I did not take that. So,
Okay.
All right. And Omar, we'll save you for last. You have your best. Omar's going to give his best bet, so we'll save him last. So I'll go here. So I'm terrible. I tried using trends, and all, they've been all banned. I tried using the public, they've been banned. So what I did this week, I had a power rankings. I found 7 separate power rankings from some famous handicappers, from DVOY, all that junk. I calculate I had a lot of time at work today. I'm not gonna lie. I got the average of all those power ranking points. Then I subtracted. Then I did the true line versus what the line is. And to Meeker's surprise, Vegas is very sharp with what their lines are, because half of them, if not more, were exactly what I had as the line, which makes it almost impossible. But I did uncover a couple games that gave a little bit of an edge, and then I used some public knowledge. So the first one that I came up with as my best bet is San Francisco -2, minus 110. I mean, that's obvious. KC's undefeated. The money's on KC. But I mean, I'll say so that this line should have.
so it's minus 1.5 right now at 112.
Even better. I'll take that
Oh
too.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the true line is actually San Francisco -1.5. So Vegas is right on the number. And the fact that everybody's on KC makes me say obvious reasons San Francisco. The second one, and this was a combination of true line and a little bit of a trend. Tampa Bay +3.5 -110 against Baltimore. So Lamar Jackson is 22-1 straight up against the NFC, which is insane. But he's only 11-11-1 against the spread. So although he wins, he's only covering half of those games, which is still, I mean, that's 500. But that true line I had, I had Tampa as should be getting less points, so I went with Tampa +3.5 -110. And my last one is Minnesota -1.5 -110. So I like that because Chalky has it, and then obviously Meeker's best bet. All right, Jason, you're up.
Best bet 49ers -1.5 -112. I really, 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 really like the 49ers this week. A lot.
Sure.
Yes. Now my second pick, which Second and third, it's interchangeable, but I like the Seahawks +3 -115. Did that change, Sharpie?
Not the same.
Okay. I know the public is slightly on Seattle. I don't think that's going to stay. I think the public's going to move to Atlanta. I really like the Seahawks in this game. I don't think Atlanta's that good. I think Seattle's offense is really good, coming off like a mini bye, I guess you call it. So I'm going to go there, and then I'm going to take the Dolphins +3 -112. Um, the Colts are going back to Anthony Richardson. Now, if they if they stay with Flacco, I'm not going to like this pick. But if they're going to Richardson, if he doesn't have his mobility, I don't like that at all. Dolphins are coming off a bye. I think they have more time to work with Huntley. Maybe they come up with something there. So I'm going with the Dolphins +3.
All right, yeah, and it's so funny though. You do like the calculations I did. How many of the lines are exactly like Vegas sets? I mean, obviously they use computers. It's not rocket science, but it's just insane like how sharp these lines are. The only one that was like a complete drastic difference was Jets and Pittsburgh. So they have Pittsburgh that should be a 2-point favorite, but they're like on the power ranking kind. But the Jets are a 2-point favorite. So that's the only one
Well,
that was like way off.
see,
And
now
that who
you
knows?
got that trade, right? The Devontae Adams.
Yeah, exactly. I know.
That's going to change
And I
things. You
was
got
going to pick Pittsburgh because of that, because everybody thinks, but I just stayed away altogether.
yeah.
All right, Omar, the floor is yours for your best bet. Omar's never given a pick right on the airwaves.
Yeah,
He
nope,
has
I
zero.
never had. And I got to tell you, I started to get concerned that you guys weren't going to touch this game, but then Jason, you mentioned it with your last pick, and that's that Indianapolis Miami game. Going back to Anthony Richardson, it's horrible. He's horrible. Everyone's banged up. Tyler Huntley, it doesn't matter. A Chain's banged up. So you got to go under in that game, under 43 -112. That is, I mean, take it to the bank. I've given you one pick. I've never given a pick before. Whoever's listening, that is it. I can give you my email address or phone number if this one loses. Trust me on this one. It is under 43, Miami, Indianapolis.
43 and a half.
I feel like our special guests
43 and a half.
have not
Make sure you
been
get the
too
hook
bad,
in
right?
there.
What's that?
Our special guests have been pretty good with their picks. I feel like.
Yeah, Jimmy D's usually good with his pick.
That's because we've had one special guest more than anybody else.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah. So Omar going under. That's impressive. Omar. No, I'm serious because you're usually, you're Mr. Over with everything. So I'm impressed, Omar. You did a really good job tonight, man. I'm
Come a
impressed.
long way. I've come a long way.
Yeah. I was worried I was going to have to, get after you and all, but no, you did a good job.
No, I love that game. I told you, that is, I'll be taking that myself. And now it's 43 and a half, so even
Yep.
better.
So you can't push.
all right. Well, this was episode 129, Broad Street Hustle. Special thanks to Omar, our special guest. Hopefully have him back on maybe some point during the NBA season or when the Sixers play the Knicks in the playoffs or maybe beyond even deeper into the playoffs. We shall see. But much appreciated and have a good night, everyone.